Hey there, Dempsey Pillot, Editor-in-Chief at the DisInsider here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about a little film that you may or may not have heard of before. It's called Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Directed by Peyton Reed, the film stars Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer, Katherine Newton, and Jonathan Majors. It's the third entry in Marvel's Ant-Man trilogy, and it picks up not too long after the events of Avengers Endgame. It follows Scott Lang and his family as they are sucked into the quantum realm, a microverse run by a mysterious and familiar-looking man known as Kang the Conqueror. As they explore the world, they all come to find out Kang actually has mysterious ties to Pfeiffer's Janet Van Dyne, and he's trapped them all there for a very specific reason. Now, I was extremely fortunate enough to see this film a week earlier than most people. Shout out to Disney for that. Truly, it was really awesome, and it was a really good experience. It feels a lot like a Rick and Morty episode, in the best way possible, which makes sense considering that the writer, Jeff Loveness, is a former writer for Rick and Morty. But what I love so much about this world that he creates and he introduces us to is that it is unlike anything we have ever seen before in the MCU, and it really is a beautiful reminder of just how strange and mysterious it still is. Seriously, I would compare the quantum realm and seeing it and all of its beauty and all of the strange characters that it had to offer and the culture. Surprisingly, they have culture within the quantum realm. I would compare seeing it for the first time here to the same way I felt when I first saw Ta Lo in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, or more recently Ta Lo Khan in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Worlds like these are still out there, and like I said, this movie is just a wonderful reminder that even though we've met a lot of the key players in Marvel's cinematic universe, that there is still a lot more left to be explored. But that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to talking about this film. In addition to Loveness's script, I want to say that a lot of this film owes itself to Peyton Reed's direction, because he is not, sadly, the first director within the MCU to complete his trilogy. On a technicality, it's John Watts, even though he kind of split that whole ship with Sony, but we're not going to talk about that. It's kind of great to see that he got to start his own vision and see it through to the very end here. Yes, not all of the films are of the same quality. Ant-Man, the first one, will always have a soft spot in my heart. This character will always have a soft spot in my heart. Ant-Man is one of my favorite comic book characters of all time. But seeing Peyton Reed nail it, and nail the tone from the very first film to the very end of this one, it's incredible. I had a couple of conversations with some of my critic friends, and we agree that the best thing about this film is the family dynamic, particularly the family dynamic with the people that aren't really necessarily his family, save for his daughter, which we will talk about in a second. It is wonderful to see how far they've come and how close they've become. I think that Hank Pym, without a doubt, has become a surrogate father for Scott, and it's wonderful to see that relationship blossom. I really enjoyed how much they really do work together and become a team, considering that for a large part of this film they are very much separated. One last thing I want to say about Peyton Reed's direction is that he really nails the scope of the film. Granted, it is a microverse, right? As I said before. But he understands that this film, despite being literally the smallest film, that the stakes are higher than ever. And where some of the other third entries in previous Marvel Cinematic movies kind of take it down and kind of wind down their heroes for the inevitable retirement or passing on the mantle, which this film also does, he shows no signs of slowing down. He makes it very clear that Ant-Man is very much still an important character in this universe, and he's as of right now the only one in the sacred timeline who has encountered Kang and is still around to do something about it. right? Loki, once again, I know he's encountered him, but he's not in the sacred timeline anymore. And Peyton Reed knows that, and he knows it's important, and he handles Ant-Man with such care. And this is something once again, I love about how he handles his character, is that he knows that despite being small, and it's the one thing that I think is so beautiful about this franchise as a whole, is yeah, Ant-Man's a small guy, but he can do big things. In terms of acting, Paul Rudd is the best he's ever been here. The standout by a mile is obviously Jonathan Majors, and honestly, I didn't know what to expect from his character. I know he's one hell of an actor, but it isn't until the first post-credit scene that you kind of realize, oh, and yes, I said the first post-credit scene because there are two, that you realize why Marvel chose him for this. I don't want to spoil anything, but when you see it, and you see what he does in that first post-credit scene as Kang, you'll know. You'll just know. That's all I can say. Michael Douglas is great. I had a strange feeling watching this film that they were trying to sunset his character. Of all the people in this film that if I had to make a bet I thought was gonna die, or were gonna die, it would probably be him. I'm not gonna say who lives or who dies, if anybody dies. Evangeline Lilly is okay here. Two other standouts, in addition to Jonathan Majors, are Michelle Pfeiffer, who I would say more than makes up for her lack of screen time in part 2. I feel like I was like, finally, watching her, I was like, finally you're doing something with Michelle Pfeiffer, okay? You can't just keep her on the sidelines. She has such an important role to this film, and it's really great when it's discovered, as I said, she has a connection to Kang, a very surprising connection, and she faces off with him on more than one occasion in this film, and to see that, oh, she is so badass, so happy that at her age she is still kicking butt, and she's given the opportunity to kick butt in a movie like this. And Catherine Newton, who, yes, there was some controversy about her, you know, being the character being recast with her in the role. That's in the past now. I thought she was great. I'm very excited. It's hard not to be excited watching her and seeing some of the other Young Avengers so far, and knowing that she's gonna come in contact with them, and to wonder what that dynamic's gonna be. I will say one of my minor complaints about the film is the fact that we meet her, she has a suit. Probably the most convenient thing about this film, but it's not a big deal. It works, and she kicks butt, and it's really heartwarming to see the dynamic that she has with Paul Rudd's character. Now, going a little bit into the story and the script, as I said, I loved Jeff Loveness's script. One of my favorite scripts so far was very reminiscent to me of the first Guardians of the Galaxy film, where it establishes this corner of this universe that we had no idea existed and really is limitless, despite being so small. It's literally a universe, a giant universe. It's really great. There are some really fantastic characters. There are some really interesting rules. Another minor complaint that I had about the film, not a major complaint, but like they establish, or they mention, how time is not the same down there. Hence why 5 hours to Scott in Avengers Endgame was really 5 years in the real world. It's not really clear how long they stood in the quantum realm in this movie, but one would think if those rules are still applicable, that same amount of time or more may have passed in the real world. And they kind of gloss over that. That kind of bothered me a bit, but at the same time, it's not entirely clear how long he's in there for. So I guess it's one of those things. It's like, just choose to let it go. Let's talk about the overarching story, which is the family gets sucked into the quantum realm, and it's revealed that Kang has actually pulled them in for a reason. He needs something done. It takes a while for us to really get to where the film is going. First act is great at establishing the quantum realm and all of its rules. Second act is when it really picks up, with Jonathan Majors taking control and establishing that he is a force to be reckoned with. I guess the main event of the film is really like in the second act, when we have to see Scott do this thing for Jonathan Majors as Kang. The entire sequence of events that follow Scott as he goes to do this thing for Kang, easily one of the coolest looking things in the MCU that I've seen, but also might go down in history as like one of my top 5 favorite, just because it's absolutely funny. Just to reiterate what I said about like Peyton Reed's vision for this film and Jeff Loveness's like commitment to being so strange. Like, I wish I could spoil it for you, but just know that the thing that Scott has to do, the events leading up to those things, hilarious. That's all I'm going to say, because once again, I'm trying to keep this spoiler free because I think this is a film that people really need to enjoy. I know I saw some people saying that, oh, it's not really necessary. It's the first film in Phase 5, guys. It's absolutely necessary. And granted, not everything in this film is important, but I think at some point in the future of the MCU, everything that happens in this film will lay the groundwork for some of the even bigger things to come. There are a couple of cliffhangers and a lot of things left unresolved, but of course they have to do that because, as I just said, it is the very first film in Phase 5. They can't give you all the answers immediately. However, I will say that with the post-credit scenes that we get, they are like not holding back with getting us to where we need to go. It's not like Phase 4 where a lot of it, not to say that it was filler, but it felt like filler because we were getting all these characters and all these places and all these new abilities and all these new dynamics. Here, you can feel the urgency. Kevin Feige knows where this is going, and he wants you to know that it's headed there fast. Now to talk about my favorite thing, the CGI. I'm not going to shit on the CGI in this movie. I thought it was really good. The imagination, once again, there's such a seamless transition. You can tell from Loveness's script to what we see. Everything is just so beautifully strange. There's a character who I will spoil because I know he already has a emoji on Twitter, Broccoli Man, which is every bit as awesome as he sounds. Just to give you an idea of how really out there this film is with its characters, I will say that there is one character in this that will be memed for as long as humanity exists or continue to exist. There is a character in this whose CGI is questionable, but I feel like it's done on purpose. And a lot of you may know who I'm talking about already. You might have seen snippets of it in the trailer, or of them in the trailer. But yeah, there's a character in this who I think is ripe for the memes, ripe for Twitter, and I look forward to seeing those memes. I know that a lot of people will probably crap on it, as I said, shit on it, shit post about it, but I feel like that's part of the joke. Like, I feel like it was done that way because there was no other way around it. And what they do with the character is very interesting as well, but overall I was very pleased with the CGI, and particularly, aside from, you know, the way that the Quantum Realm was designed, the way they got Kang, the green, the purple, the blue on his face, how that's done, and the way in which they kind of bring it to him, all that's great. Very comic book accurate, very exciting to see what they do with any other variations that we may or may not meet in the future. And that kind of leads me to the end, which is the future. I guess I'll just talk about some of my thoughts overall, just in summary. It is not the best Marvel film, I will be honest, but I think it is the best Ant-Man film. At least it's my favorite Ant-Man film, having seen all 3 of them. First one's great, first one will always be iconic, but this one, it's just the way that everything falls into place. I really liked it. I know not everybody will love it because I feel like there's already this kind of anticipation there, or people are expecting certain things, but once again, you just have to wait. This is the beginning. This is the beginning, and this is not even the beginning of the end. This is the beginning of the end. Okay? I don't really have a rating for this film. I don't really know if we're gonna do ratings on this channel in the future, but I'm gonna take a cheap shot, and I'm gonna give this film an A for Ant-Man. Haha. You can't get mad at me for that, internet. But seriously speaking, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to view this video here on the DisInsider's YouTube channel. It really means a lot to myself and the rest of the team that work so hard to bring you all the content, whether it be on this YouTube channel or our podcast RSS feed, or, you know, just the website that started it all. Now, we will be trying to do more content. Now, we will be trying to do more consistent content like this in the near future. I'm talking about more reviews, more reactions, interviews. I know I got a couple of fun interviews that will be premiering here in the next couple of days, something I was really happy to do. It may not always be myself, it may be other members of the DisInsider team. We have a very great group of individuals that I'm very excited for you to meet. While we're not too sure about the consistency of those things going forward, one thing I am sure about the consistency of is those neat everything we know so far videos that we've been posting. I think we just did a neat one about Snow White a couple of days ago, and you should probably check it out because we know a lot considering the movie is like still over a year away. But in the meantime, I implore you guys to make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that share button. Share this with your best friend, share this with your grandma, share this with that stranger you're probably standing in line behind at that Disneyland / Disney World theme park attraction, you know, insert name here, while you wait to, you know, get on for however long it's been. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Bye. Have a great day. Go see Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania!